Welcome to this video series of interviews from different companies, and in all these series we are discussing about the interviews and the process which are either cracked by me or somebody else who wants to stay anonymous. But there is enough proof gathered that this interview is genuine, which I will show you in this video also. And also there is a note that all the answers discussed here are mostly correct, and I will explain both the perspectives, like what is the actual answer given by the interviewee and what is the most correct answer if that is not correct. And also, if you found that there is another most closest answer to what is discussed in this video, you can mention it in your comment section, and I will take it from there and update in the description section, so that everybody else who watches the video, they'll know the updated and correct answers than what is discussed in this video. This is Ajay Singh's interview experience for the company called Solugenix, and it went in 2 rounds. The first round being technical plus managerial together, and second round being HR discussion. Normally it could be 3 rounds, technical, managerial, and then HR, but for Ajay Singh it went in 2 rounds. The first round is a mix of technical plus managerial, so there is a lot that we are going to see in this particular video, because we are going to cover all the questions for technical and managerial at a time. And here is the proof that this is the invite that Ajay Singh got from Solugenix, and the interview occurred over Teams, which is technical round, and it went for 50 minutes, and there are 20 number of questions in total. So let us start with the first question. The first question is the most common question that is asked in any interview, which is tell me about yourself. So I have just explained about myself, mostly in terms of my professional experience. So I would suggest you also do the same thing, like instead of discussing general things about yourself, you try to focus on the professional experience of yours and any achievements that you have done during your career, and any specialty that you are versatile with, and any certifications that you have done which will be in respect to your career. So that's how you can answer this question effectively. And the second question is, what is your performance testing experience? So I didn't mention any performance testing experience in my resume, but still I got this question. I think because they are looking for somebody who is also having performance testing experience. So but whatever it is, I answered it that I don't have performance testing experience, but I have worked on JMeter to some extent while testing the API response time with different concurrent users load. So I have done a little bit of it, but not completely into performance testing. I'm not, as I explained, that I'm not knowing about the benchmarking of performance testing and the other standard procedures and techniques that are involved in performance testing. So we didn't discuss about any of it. I just told that I'm not into it. And the third question is about, have you done penetration and security testing? So I didn't have experience on this as well, so I just said I don't have any experience on this aspect. Now the fourth question is about explain STLC, so which is nothing but software testing lifecycle. This is another most common question that you will be asked in your manual QA roles, and also for lead roles and any roles up to lead manager. So this is a common question, in fact, again. So software testing lifecycle has many different phases. The first phase will start with requirement analysis. So understand that it's not requirement gathering, it's requirement analysis. So there is a different requirement gathering occurs in as DLC, which is software development life cycle, but this is requirement analysis. So you had the requirements already and you are doing the analysis of it during this phase, which is going to be input for the second the next phases. So second phase will be about test planning, followed by test design, and then test execution, and then after that defect reporting, and then
your exit formalities and deployment. So you can visit this blog, 4versatiles.blogspot.com. Here I have explained more details. You can read more about STLZ in detail. Okay, so this is the website. This website has many details, not just about testing, you can see, and also I am keeping all my interview question and answers also. And you click on testing tab, there you will see the first topic itself is about software testing life cycle. So you can read about it. So there are different phases starting from contract signing, but contract signing is a stage where not majority of you would have worked, so you don't have to mention it probably. This is lead level and managerial level discussions that occur, and these are the deliverables. So similarly for requirement analysis, so it's very briefly explained about each phase and the documents involved and what are the deliverables of each test phase. So you see test planning. So if you wanted to further know about test planning, you have to click about it. Click on the link and the further details will be discussed about the test planning. So you can visit this page. So that's about the fourth question. And in fact I forgot to explain the test planning phase, but it didn't cause a problem, so the interview is cool, so we just moved on. But later I found it out and I told him that I forgot the test planning phase in the previous question. Okay, now moving to the fifth question, which is about what is traceability matrix used for. So traceability matrix is something which will be helpful in tracking the requirements against the testing that occurs. So to know that everything whichever is captured as requirement is tested or not is something which you will found out, and this will let you not miss anything. So when you does a mapping of requirement against the test cases, there is no chance that you are going to miss in your testing phase to test that particular requirements. So whichever let you help to deal with this aspect is a traceability matrix. So it's like the name says, it's a matrix form which is about mapping of the requirements against the test cases, and sometimes in between there will be high level test scenarios as well. So it's like a map from requirement, then the high level test cases, and then the test cases at a lower level at a functional level. So all your functional test cases are in turn mapped to the functional requirements which are defined for that particular project. So this is the basic purpose of traceability matrix. And then moving on to the next question, which is what are latent defects. So this is something interesting. I didn't get what is latent defects when I was asked this question. So instead I started explaining about cosmetic defects, which are not latent defects. So then later further we discuss like okay, what are latent defects, and here is the explanation for latent defects. So latent defects are the defects which exist within the product or software even it is tested and released into the production. So there are chances that software is tested thoroughly against the functional requirements and the product is released to the production, but still in the production there are chances that there will be some defects which are found. So such defects which are found even after the thorough QA process in the production are known as the latent defects. So normally these kind of defects are undetected because of the nature. So the nature of these defects are like they go undetected because they don't impact the application, or they don't have immediate, or they don't have an effect at all on the application. Since it is not having an impact on the application, it is quite possible that this is not found during the normal QA process. So that's why these kind of defects will be slippage through. So along with the existing standard procedures, if we tighten the code reviews and if we do the usability testing even more, then there are chances that you can reduce the frequency of latent defects. So you can find again more about the latent defects in same blog for verstyles.blogspot.com. So let me just show you it is there. So let me check. So it is again in the testing tab. So yeah, here we go. So there is this session under the defects, about the latent defects, so you can read on for more. Okay. Now let's discuss about the seventh question. Seventh question is about explain Fluent weights. So here we are not going to discuss all the weights because it is asked only about the Fluent weights, but however we'll just discuss a brief about other weights also. But like in every other interview session, we are going to discuss this with the help of demo, because with the demo it will make it most the technical explanation. So now let's have a look into the demo. Okay, Fluent weights. Yeah, so here as a first step I am launching the browser and entering the username and password, and that's what. And then after that I'm trying to capture a welcome web element. So I'm putting my wait condition over this web element, which is welcome text element. Okay, so normally in the implicit waits, what is going to happen is we are going to give the instructions to the driver to wait for certain amount of period, so that the driver will wait for that period. Till that period it will see whether the complete page is loaded or not, and then it will proceed to the next actions. So we have to make the driver wait for the entire page to be loaded, which is like time taking, because if you wanted to validate certain web element, why do you have to wait for the entire page to be loaded? So you can just wait for the particular element to be there, and then you can give the instructions to proceed with the next steps. So that will save the time definitely, right? So that's the purpose, that there are these WebDriver wait and Fluent wait which are introduced, and between WebDriver wait and Fluent wait there is one more minor difference. So that is what we are going to see. So this is how we declare the Fluent wait, and also how do you initialize and use the Fluent wait. So it is new Fluent wait, and you are invoking it on the driver instance. So with the help of this you have invoked the Fluent wait, and you are telling the driver to wait for 30 seconds timeout. So this 30 seconds timeout is similar to what you are giving an instruction in the implicit wait also, and in the other wait, WebDriver wait also. So the difference is that you are telling the driver to wait for this maximum timeout period, but not till the entire page is loaded. Instead you wait for this condition to occur. And what is that condition? This web element on which I want to perform an action. Since I want to perform an action, I am telling that driver to wait till that element is clickable. So once that element is clickable, you don't have to wait for the other elements of the same web page to be available, because what it matters to me is only this web element, because I'm putting some validations on this one only. So in that way you don't have to wait for some more time. Instead you can proceed to the next statements, which are like displaying this statement over here and then close the driver. Okay, so not only that, in addition to that I'm also putting additional filters also here. The additional filters are how frequently you have to wait for this element. Now we told that web driver to wait for this element till be clickable, but how frequently the driver has to check. So how the driver will know? Because you have to tell the driver how frequently or when you have to check that element is clickable or not. It can't check every 2 seconds or 3 seconds or something like that, right? So you are given an option to give an instruction which is in terms of polling time. So you're defining the polling time as 500 milliseconds, which means that you're telling the driver to verify if this element is clickable or not for every 500 milliseconds. So it will check for at the first 500 milliseconds, it will check it is clickable or not. For example, if it is not clickable, what the driver has to do is it has to throw an exception ideally, because it didn't find this element which is to be clickable. So now it is going to throw an exception, right? So in the Fluent wait we also have an option to handle that exception. So how did I handle the exception? I am telling the driver to ignore that exception, because I wanted to I have given a 30 seconds of wait time, right? So I can utilize all the wait time. So it's like it will keep on checking. First 500 it didn't find, okay, wait for one more 500, check again, okay, fine, till it didn't found, ignore the exception, again wait for one more 500 seconds. So for example, in third time if the element is clickable, then it's good, don't wait for 30 seconds, just proceed to the next steps. So that's done. So now let's see this demo. Let me execute the script and see that it is going to wait till 30 seconds or not, and how sooner it is going to proceed to the next step. So that way we are going to save the execution time by minimizing the execution time. This is to improve the performance of the scripts when they are larger in size. So these small elements of saving small seconds of time will contribute to saving hours when it comes to the large set of test case execution. So it has logged in the button. Now let's count time, 1 2 3. Okay, within 3 seconds it has proceeded and done this step, and it also closed the driver. So within 3 seconds you can see that it didn't throw any exception of no such elements. For the first 500 seconds it didn't found probably, but it still didn't throw this exception. Waited for next 500, didn't find. So finally in 2.5 or 3 seconds it has found it, and it proceeded to the next steps. So that's about the Fluent wait. Now let us proceed to the next question, which is how to send email to web element which takes email ID. The other way to put this question is how do you make use of, how do you enter text in a text box. So here in this case the text box is something which is going to take my email ID. So answer to this question is using the send keys method. So you call that web element which is going to take that email ID and pass the email ID with the help of send keys. So that's how you do it. Now let's move on to the ninth question. How do you do mouse hover operations? And the answer to this one is with the help of actions class you can achieve these operations. You can do mouse and keyboard operations, and mouse operation is one of the mouse operations which is achieved by actions class. The best way to do understand this again is with the help of demo. So let's have a look into the demo. So here I have a test case again. Launch the browser and with the help of regular web locators and the methods, enter the username, password, and then does the click operation. So I can do it this way. So now I'm going to do it differently with the help of keyboard operations. So what I can do if I wanted to do this, how I can also do is I can enter the username and then I can press the tab button, and then I can type the text with password, and then I press the tab again, and then I can do the click operation. So all these operations are like keyboard and mouse operations. So I'm going to do it differently using the mouse and keyboard operations with the help of my actions class. So let us see how this is done. So I have created an object for this actions class on the driver instance. This is my actions object. So in this object I have access to various methods. You can see here it has build, click web element, click and hold, context click, double click, drag and drop. So many methods we have access to, and one of the methods is move to element. So this is nothing but moving your cursor to that particular web element. This is nothing but the mouse hover operations which we wanted to see. Okay, so what I have done is I have moved my mouse to this web element. Which is that web element? The username. So I have moved my mouse and then I clicked on the text box, and then I have done send keys operation. The normal way of using send keys is passing an argument of text to it. Okay, okay, so that's one way. But here in actions class we have send keys with overloaded methods. So you'll see send keys is used in two ways, by taking the string and an argument and taking two arguments. One is the string and one is the target web element. So I have I'm making use of the second send keys method, wherein I'm giving an instruction to enter this particular text in the username field. After that, I have done the tab operation, and then this time I'm not using a web element or locator to tell or to recognize the password field, because once I press the tab button after the username field, the cursor is going to appear anyways in the password, so I don't have to define the web element and use a locator strategy, so I can avoid all that stuff. Instead, I can directly enter the password and then press on tab, and then again do a mouse over operations on the button and then click. So these are all the different sets of actions that I'm going to perform, right? So these set of actions need to be bundled with a single action that is achieved by the build method. Okay, so I have bundled all these actions with the help of build method, and then I am going to invoke the perform method, which will do the actions which I have bundled earlier. So some cases without using build also you can perform will work, but in some cases it won't work. So but the preferable and most approved method is to use this way, like build actions, bundle them together and perform the action or operation. So we can just run it. So yeah, let us see how the mouse over operation is working. So it will be faster, so probably you may not notice the mouse over operation, but let's try to see that. Okay, it launched, it opened the URL. Okay, it is faster, so you didn't see the mouse over operation, but without the mouse over operations it is obvious that you can't perform the click operation on the submit button, on the click operation to enter the username, obviously, right? So this is how this is done. So this is about the 9th question. Now the 10th question is difference between driver quit and driver close. This is pretty simple. Driver.close will close the current instance of the driver, and driver.quit will close all the open instances of the driver. For example, if you have opened a browser and then you clicked on 2 or 3 links, it will open 3 more windows probably. In that case, if you use driver.close, it will close the current active instance of the driver, but it will leave the other 3 windows which are already open. But if you call driver.quit, it will close all the web pages which are open, irrespective of the active or inactive session. So that's what it is. A demo for this one will look like this. So here in the same mouse actions, I have commented the mouse operations and uncommented the regular style of login. And then what I have done is I have clicked on one link, it will open one more page, and I clicked on another link which is PIM module, it will open another page. Then with the help of driver.close, it is supposed to close only the first web page, which is the login page. So unfortunately I tried to execute it. It showed some error. Let me check if it is still working now. So I click on proceed. So it is supposed to close only the active instance out of the 3 web pages. It's like out of 3 pages it is supposed to close the first page. So it opened the URL and launched the page, it entered the credentials. Okay, it turned into some Chinese. Oh, it opened. Okay, it's working now. I think they are doing some changes to this probably. Okay, so they are doing some changes and that's why we couldn't see it properly, but it looked like it has closed, it has opened one page, but it is not able to do these two. But somehow it ended up in closing this one. Okay, there is some issue. We'll see that again later, but meanwhile let us try to quit this. see the demo for Quit. Again it opened the page and it has entered the demo URL. Okay, still in Chinese or Japanese, I guess. Okay, it clicked on login button. I don't know it is able to recognize this or not. It is not able to recognize, obviously, because it didn't open these two links. So it done the quit operation. Okay, fine. At this moment it's not working because it is under maintenance, I guess. But this is the main difference between the try.close and quit for sure. So now let's move on to the 11th question, which is, have you used page object model and what are the advantages and why do you use it? Okay, page object model is a design pattern. So it's a concept, in fact. So it's a concept or design pattern wherein you can separate web locator strategies from the actual test cases. So that's what page object model is. Like it says, you are creating the pages separately and storing your web elements in those page classes so that these are separate from the actual test logic which you are building in order to validate your test cases, and the other set of logics or coding where you do or define some more logic like utilities and everything. So all these are separate and your web element or location strategies are going to be separated. So in that way you will have like more readability to the code, and also the code maintenance will be easy. For example, if there are any changes to a particular web element in future, you don't have to go to each test case where that web element is used and do the changes. So instead you can go to the page objects which are defined, pages which are defined, and there you can change the location strategy in order to recognize the new element after the new changes. In that way it will reduce your efforts for maintenance and it will increase the readability, and it will also reduce the number of lines of code that you are going to write. So that's POM. And page factory is a class which is helpful to implement the page object model design pattern. So now moving on to the 12th question. Other than send keys, how do you set text in the forms? So for this one, the answer I know is about by using the send keys method. Without using send keys method, how do you achieve it is using the robot class and javascript.demo. Okay, so by using this we can actually does send the keys or type the text in the text box. Now let us see the demo if the application is working now.